Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chasing Labels, and welcome back to another Criterion Collection Blu-ray review. This time we are in the month of July of 2026, and me and Andrew Cabral here, Mr. Chasing Labels himself, will be reviewing a couple more newly released Criterion releases. So this month I got my hands on the new, and help me with the pronunciation, Nakasaka Oshima.
Oh
Oshima.
boy, this is bad. It's Nagisa Oshima,
Nagisa Oshima.
and that's
Nagisa Oshima's Cruel Story of Youth. I got it from Criterion. Andrew just went and picked it up because he wanted the movie.
yes, because it is that good, if you will.
Yes.
This is what we talked about here on Chasing Labels when it was announced several months ago that it was coming out during in July, which is now. Also to coincide with the 50% off Barnes and Noble sale that is happening currently and happens pretty much every July annually, and of course every November as well.
Yes.
So if you want this release or any of the other releases we've been talking about here on Chasing Labels, now is the time to get them because they are at their
time
peak.
of the one of the best times of the year. And Andrew himself also got another copy, a different film. He got the one I know he's really wanted for a while. It's one of his favorite films of all time, HUD.
Yeah, so this is the Martin Ritt film HUD, starring Paul Newman, as well as Melvin Douglas. Patricia Neal is in the film as well, who won an Oscar for this film. This is the 1963 film HUD, which has been one of my favorites, not only of Paul Newman, but has become one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was waiting years upon years for this to get any HD release, a Blu-ray release, 4K that we have now. It did get a Blu-ray release from Imprint over in Australia, but I was waiting because I had heard that they had recently done a new 4K restoration that was showing at various film festivals. I think they showed it at like the TCM Film Festival and stuff like that. So I was like, somebody's got to put out a 4K of it if they did a whole 4K restoration.
Yeah, you hear him say like, "Oh, I've been waiting for years for a Blu-ray," and then as soon as he hears that there's a restoration, he's like, I guess I could wait a little longer.
Yeah, I guess I can wait a little longer. The signs are looking positive that it is coming. But there are also several other releases from July that we do not have currently on hand, but some that many of you have probably gotten at home, and several that I actually still want to get myself.
For sure.
So right off the bat, we have the 4K re-release of The Elephant Man, the David Lynch film that a couple of years ago got a Blu-ray release. And then that Blu-ray went out of print for a brief amount of time. And then Janus Films themselves acquired the rights to the movie. So therefore, it is now back in print, not only on Blu-ray, but in 4K as well. Talk about one of the all-time great films in The Elephant Man.
I got my hands on the 4K from Studio Canal. I'm really happy with that. Studio Canal does great 4K releases, so I'm good with that. So, but it's a great film. I love it. I mean, it's one of them more like straightforward Lynch movies, but it's got to be one of his best movies.
Yeah, it's one of the just all-time great performances with John Hurt.
John Hurt, man. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins is in the film as well.
I'm not an animal.
Yeah, it's a tragic story. And then we have The Crying Game, the Neil Jordan films, got a 4K UHD release as well. This movie's been released several times on Blu-ray and DVD as well. And I think Neil Jordan has already been in the collection before. Yes, the movie Mona Lisa with Bob Hoskins, which has a great cover art, is also in the collection as well. Yeah, so not the first time for Neil Jordan.
I believe I have an old Arrow Academy.
Oh, yes.
That. Yes.
Arrow did put that out years ago. Yeah. Then another one that was highly anticipated for years upon years upon years to go from DVD to some type of HD release. That is the Martin Scorsese film Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. One of the last few of his movies that had not gotten an HD release at all. Now, the only one that doesn't, the last one is who's that knocking at my door is only available on DVD. Everything else has at least a Blu-ray release. But Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, starring Ellen Burstyn, Chris Christopherson, just came out recently as well. That's one that needs to be bought. I need to upgrade my old DVD of that. just a great 1970s Martin Scorsese film. Steven, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Blind spot for me, yeah, for sure. I've been waiting for the 4K
Nice.
just
Your time has arrived.
to watch it, so I'll be getting it to watch it. Yeah.
And then, of course, the Martin Ritt movie HUD has gotten released. And then we have the I'll Remind You of Everything, the films of Mike Mills, which I talked about here. It didn't seem like that long ago, but I talked about here with one of our guests. I can't remember who it was, but it contains the movies Beginners, 20th Century Woman, and Come On, Come On. Ironically, as I own all three of those movies already, but I'm such a big fan of this director and these films that I don't mind rebuying these movies.
There's going to be features on there that are exclusive to them.
Yeah, they're probably they probably are. They're also in 4K, so they all got new digital remasters, I think. At least it says new 4K digital masters of The Beginners and 20th Century Woman, and a new 4K digital master of Come On, Come On. But Come On, Come On came out like 4 years ago. Like it's not an old movie.
This is another blind spot. I have not seen any of these movies.
Oh yeah, Beginners. I think about that movie a lot. It's about life and death and grief, all the positive things in life.
Oh yeah.
And then we have, I believe, a Criterion Premieres release of The Love That Remains. This is a fascinating movie we talked about where the movie's told in almost this documentary verite style of this, you're just kind of a fly on the wall watching this family, and it's told in like snippets. Like one moment they'll be having like a family dinner, one moment they'll be on vacation, one moment it'll just be shots of like kids playing outside, and it's all actually about the breakup of the parents actually, and the way in which that kind of affects the rest of the family, but how they hold things together. A fascinating modern film. And then I think we've got we have the Cruel Story of Youth, the Nagisa Oshima film from 1960, which we will both be discussing probably right now. That's
Sure.
the best segment we can make. Because I know, Steven, this is your first time watching this. This was my second.
Yes. Yeah, first time watching it. And speaking of first, this is almost essentially his first movie. It's not technically his first movie, but if you want to see his first movie, it is on the disc. So you can go see A Town of Love and Hope from 1959 is his feature film debut. And they also have a short film from the same year, Tomorrow's Sun, as features on this. But this is like technically his second feature, and seems to be kind of like the big lunge forward, the big standout to begin his career. And what this movie is about is it's really kind of like I guess what's the genre we would call this? Like the juvenile young people kind of genre, where they're young people getting into trouble,
juvenile delinquency.
That's it. Juvenile delinquent movies. And so, yeah, in this movie, you have a woman who's like kind of, she's getting herself out there. She's wanting to see what's out there. She's, they call her kind of a freeloader is what the way it's described online. I don't know if I'd quite call her a freeloader, but she's just a young woman who's curious and wants to experience things. And when she gets out there, she starts trying to date different men. And she, of course, runs into some people that are trying to take advantage of her. And then there's a man who kind of steps in and saves her. And then from there, they kind of start this very toxic relationship. And I think that's kind of, it seems to be the center of the discussion of the movie. Like there's a lot of great movies in that genre. Made me think of like a Sid and Nancy or like something in that vein. I think Sid and Nancy's maybe like a more on the extreme side, but this is definitely dealing with a lot of them same toxic ideas, and where the woman's seems to be being used more as like a means to things for this man who's basically just using her to get men, and then he beats them up and takes their money. I mean, it's just a whole thing that they got going, almost like isn't that what they did in like Thelma and Louise? Kind of just like
it's similar to that. I was thinking even like a Bonnie and Clyde,
or a Bonnie and Clyde.
I mean, you talk about extreme natural born killers with those two characters. Yeah, you're kind of hitting it on the head. It's an interesting movie about toxic relationships at a very young, naive age and getting yourself in way over your head in life very
Yeah,
quickly, which is kind of a universal thing that I think happens all the way to this day. I think it's
yeah.
something that youth experience that all of the time. And yeah, you've got these two kind of almost like lost souls. It's kind of also part of that, I guess you could call it subgenre of lost youth that I've
Mm.
always been fascinated with. Like, especially generation to generation, there's always this sense of lost youth, like aimless, or, rebel without a cause. The movie and the concept
Oh
is
yeah, I mean,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Just and also just like young people finding their place,
Yeah.
and
But
even
almost they're aimlessly like just trying stuff out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
not that they're necessarily lost, but that they haven't gotten their footing yet, and
Hmm.
and and especially, and it's coming from almost two different places. You got somebody that's this girl who's definitely just trying to find her place, trying to figure out what her worth is, and then the guy's trying to tell her worth is just this, and he's already like been through it and knows, and he's a little older, he knows the game, he's figured out what he's, I guess he's through how he's been raised, he's figured out something that works for him, and it's very disturbing in a lot of ways in different parts in this film.
Oh yeah,
um
that is the thing with Nagisa Oshima's work, is he's very not afraid to go into places that would be considered controversial, especially depicting certain things on screen. At that time, being 1960, things like certain sexual actions, specifically
rape
rape,
and for sure, and
harassment, all of that, sexual assault, things like that. Which is, I think it's in kind of commenting on Japanese society of that time,
yeah,
male dominated, patriarchal, women being victims of that, and that's something that is also not only inducive to that time, but even to nowadays as well. Not only within Japanese culture, but in with worldwide as well. And I think he's very much pointing that out at that time. This was actually like the first film of three films he did during that same year that were kind of his coming out party, if you will.
yeah.
It's Cruel Story of Youth, The Sun's Burial, and Night and Fog in Japan. These movies were so controversial at the time that the production company that he was working with basically kicked him out, basically fired him, and he kind of went. He had to he went against he went and kind of had to do his own thing in other places. He really went to like cultural war with them essentially,
Yeah,
and it's a very interesting kind of starting point for Nagisa Oshima because his movies for going forward were very combative.
yeah.
Uh, After that, recently Radiance put out a whole box set of a lot of his films, and all of those films are all like political, getting into all
I gotta
kinds
get
of things.
After seeing this film, I really need to dig into it. Radical Japan,
Yeah, and Criterion's put out a lot of his work as well
Death
already over the
Death by
years.
Hanging is the one I had and had already seen before this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so Death by Hanging is well known. In the Realm of the Senses, which is a very sexual film that he did in the 70s. We have Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which
yeah.
is David Bowie is in that movie. It stars
I
in that
need to
movie.
see that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. There's also an Eclipse set that's actually now out of print that I'm hoping is going to get one of
Maybe it'll
those
get the Blu-ray
Blu-ray
upgrade.
re-releases
Yeah.
that they've been doing. It's Oshima's Outlaw 60s. It's Eclipse series set number 21. This has been around for a long time. It's been around since I started collecting Criterions back in like 2011. I mean, it's been around and should
I
have bought it
don't
when I had the chance. But if it's getting a Blu-ray re-release, I'm
I
willing
mean,
to
look,
wait.
maybe it will, but also, like I feel like Oshima's work has kind of like gotten more heightened over the years, and maybe they've done it a couple times where they've pulled stuff out of the Eclipse series and made it more like part of the collection.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that happening too, maybe, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
I was wondering because I had thought that perhaps this had come out of the Eclipse set, but no, those movies start in the mid '60s, like
Yeah,
1965. I even thought some of the earliest stuff, like it has his first film in here, like you mentioned, and the
yeah.
short as well. I thought that had come out of that Eclipse set, but no, it's not. It's kind of like its first time being in the Criterion Collection in any way. But this release specifically, I was kind of blown away by how amazing the movie looked
It
in
looked great.
4K.
Yeah, yeah.
It has there's no HDR, so no HDR10, no Dolby Vision, but it is a 4K digital restoration on here. Looked incredible,
Yeah.
and for a movie from 1960, it was kind of miraculous how great it looked. I
Mm,
remember watching it streaming on the Criterion channel, and it did not look as good as it does on here. And what's interesting about his aesthetic, specifically not only for this movie, but the movies in the 60s, they're so gritty. Like they feel so lived
mhm.
in, they feel like dirty and grimy, and that's also kind of like what he's depicting because this movie features like these two, especially the male character is, he's beating up people for money. He's duping like rich men and then beating them up. And this movie's very pessimistic. Like it has a very pessimistic outlook on life. You're also dealing with like big type of societal themes in here, like
Yeah, there's
like
stuff.
women's rights, abortion, like sexual crimes, all kinds
Well,
of
there
things going on
at
in
the
here.
very beginning, the beginning scenes, they're at like a protest for like
Yes,
the
that's a
U.S.
big
The
backdrop.
U.S. Yeah, there's like this. There's this. You probably know the history better than I do, but there was this time period where the U.S. And Japan had been uh, making agreements on like their, because the war wasn't, after World War II, there was a lot of things going on, and where U.S. was, having thing, putting their footprint on that side of the world.
Yeah.
So
So after World War II, the United States occupied Japan for about 10 years.
yeah,
So from about, I think, 1945 to 1956 or so. And in 1960, they created, I think it was called like the Freedom Pact or something like that, where basically the United States would be sticking around in some way, shape, or form in that area of the world. Even to this day, the United States has military bases in Japan.
yeah,
So it's even extending towards today. And the movie depicts a lot of the anger and frustration within the Japanese people about those things that were going on politically, specifically amongst the youth. You feel like there's like a lot of youth movements with political protesting and a lot of anger and frustration, and this movie is definitely a reflection of that. Like I feel like the characters definitely reflect that kind of angstiness of that time, or the anger of that time. Because yeah, the movie literally has physical altercations, like
yeah.
literally, and yeah, I was just so struck by just the unapologetic aesthetic of the whole movie in all of its ways. There
And,
are some beautiful scenes and then some really ugly scenes too.
yeah, and it's and like, especially listening to Tony Raines' interview in this, talking about the film, he pointed that there's just so many close-ups. It's very intimate,
Intimate.
in
Mm.
that way. It's just a lot of close-ups, not a lot of mid shots. Like it's very, very in your face.
Oh yeah, because a lot of it takes place indoors in close quarters.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of tight focus, especially with the intimate scenes. Like you get right up in there.
yeah,
It's like you're in there with them. It's very
yeah,
uncomfortable. And it's probably done so on purpose to show how uncomfortable and not sexy this is. You know what
yeah.
I mean? There are sex scenes that are definitely there to be erotic in movies, there to be, sexually stimulating to the viewers. And then there are ones that are just like very disturbing and unsettling and not sexy at all. And I feel like Oshima toes that line very fine, very
Yeah.
fine in his movies, going one way or going the other. But yeah, this movie is just kind of incredible. You mentioned that Tony Raines special feature. It's about, I think it's 20 minutes long
Yeah.
from 2005. And it's very insightful about the career at the time of Nagisa Oshima, how he got his start, and provide you a little bit of context about kind of the type of filmmaker he was.
Yeah.
And I think the other ones which we talked about are the first feature film and the short. And I think that's it in terms of special features.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot there, but
Yeah,
just get,
there's a booklet in
yeah,
here as
yeah.
well, like
There are essays in there, and
in typical fashion. I think it's one of the regular booklets. Yeah, it's not one of the big old. Oh no, I lied. They
it's a
duped me again, Steven.
reality.
They duped me again. It's one of these foldouts, which I'm not a big fan of. I understand saves paper, saves space, but it always dupes me every single time. I love this packaging in general. I
Yeah, I
love
do
the
like the color
colors.
scheme.
The
Yeah.
color schemes are great, and also the discs are very colorful as well.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
like it.
not so much inner artwork, but there is like inner stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
Go on.
Now, one thing before we move on to HUD, there's a scene in this movie that I think rivals the what people call like the food eating scene
You got a Tampopo vibe? Nice.
well, I'm thinking in Ghost Story where
Oh,
she's eating the pie there for like forever on the floor, and you got a similar scene in this movie where he's eating an apple for like a straight like couple minutes. It feels like
Oh
just like
yes, where
right
he's
at the
just sitting there eating a Granny Smith apple, which is one of the sour ones, I think,
but
and it
and
just focuses on him the whole time.
well, yes, and it's the context of why, like where he's doing it, and like what has just happened in the movie.
Right.
That is what's so kind of just off-putting about the whole thing. But it's I was like, God damn it, this is taking forever. But then I was like, this is this. I
There's
know that this
well,
mean
you
that
know what it reminded me of? Now that you mentioned it, there's the scene in the movie Hunger, the Steve McQueen movie Hunger,
sure,
where
yeah,
the whole scene is just somebody sweeping up the floor in the prison, and the whole time it's just the camera down, cameras like this, and then you just see the guy in the distance. It's like sweeping the the whole prison hallway, and
yeah,
it's just a whole shot of that. You're just watching that for like a good 5 to 10 minutes of just that, and it's just like, and
that's
I
life in
understand that's the
prison.
same reaction that people have to that scene as well.
Yeah, but yeah. First time watch for me was really great. And like you said, looks fantastic, and you should pick it up at the sale. Do it. Don't wait.
Yeah, if you're interested in Nagisa Oshima's work, this is probably a good place to start because it is like literally his second
I
movie.
mean, you get all the beginnings here, so it's everything's
Yeah,
in this release here.
it's
So,
a preview of things to come. But I guess kind of switching gears to somebody who was kind of in the prime of their careers, not so much starting out. I think both Martin Ritt as well as Paul Newman and the others in this movie, Patricia Neal, Melvin Douglas, the legendary Melvin Douglas, are all at their prime peak in this movie, in my opinion, in HUD. This is a movie that has been out on DVD for many years from Paramount Pictures, and I've had that DVD in my collection, and now I can move it aside and slot this into my Martin Ritt section. Martin Ritt is a director who perhaps a lot of people aren't aware of him. I feel like he's underrated, in my opinion. Kind of gets lost amongst a lot of the other great directors during his time. But he directed, like I said, HUD. He directed The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, which is another Criterion film. The Long Hot Summer with Joanne Woodward, Paul Newman, Orson Welles. Angela Lansbury's in that film as well. And then Norma Ray, which of course starred Sally Field in her Oscar-winning role. That's all about workers' rights as well as
yeah, I've
unionizing.
seen that one. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. He did the movie Ombre with Paul Newman as well, which I would love if that would get a Blu-ray re-release. Twilight Time put that out years ago, and that's long been out of print. Paris Blues is another one that actually had a Blu-ray release from Kino, and that went out of print. And I'm wondering if somebody's going to pick that one up. It's Paul Newman as well as Sidney Poitier hanging out in Paris, and they're musicians. And Joanne Woodward is in that film as well. And yeah, Martin Ritt, super underrated director in my opinion, and this movie is, like I said, one of my favorite Paul Newman films and one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's a movie dealing with a lot of deep, deep themes that I feel like are very universal, very timeless, very contemporary. So you have these cattle ranchers, and there's this family, and the patriarch of the family is portrayed by Melvin Douglas. Then you have his son, portrayed by Paul Newman. Then you have his grandson as well in the film, who's played. I forgot who the actor is. He's actually an Oscar-winning actor who he was the little kid in Shane. If anybody remembers the
Yeah.
movie Shane, he's the little kid in that. I'm actually going to look him up right now. Brandon DeWild. Yeah, Brandon DeWild. I thought he's really good in this movie. I thought he was better in this movie than he was in Shane, but that's a whole other story. And what you have here is this cross section of three generations, all living in the same place at the same time, all in this cattle ranch, and there's obviously going to be a lot of conflict because of the difference in generations, because of the familial conflict that is inherent in a lot of ways. There's a lot of baggage that this family has, and you learn about that baggage throughout this movie. Obviously, the Melvin Douglas character, he's the authority. You know what I mean? He's the patriarch. Things run things run through him. It's his ranch. He's set in his ways, if you will. He has a certain set of the way he does things. Then you have the Paul Newman character, who's the black sheep of the family. He is slimy. He is rotten in this movie. He is awful. He is terrible in this movie. He's a drunk womanizer, sleeping with men's wives, neglecting his duties. He's constantly in conflict with the Melvin Douglas character. He's the cool uncle that is the black sheep of the family that you idolize when you're the young nephew, the way Brandon DeWild's character does. But there's a lot there that you don't know because you're so blinded by how you want to be this person. But in reality, you don't want to be him. He lives kind of a sad life. And you only learn that after certain things are revealed about him and why he is the way he is and why this family is the way they are. And then you have Patricia Neal, who plays like their, I guess you could say, maid or housekeeper, something like that. Like she basically,
Caretaker.
caretaker, if you will, and she's thrust into there as well. And the dialogue in this movie is astounding. It is fast, furious. It is layered. It is just biting conversations they have in this movie. This movie's dealing with so much stuff.
Yeah, what I took heavy from seeing this movie was just the themes of like kind of like legacy,
Yeah,
like making sure that we're providing the right examples for what's going forward, because the Paul Newman's character, he really, it's like he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants his father to sell the ranch so they can just have money, and he doesn't want to work for anything. He
it's
doesn't
so
want.
interesting because like the Melvin Douglas character is about legacy, but he's also about like cherishing the work,
Yeah, yeah,
cherishing the
yeah.
land, doing things that are very
Taking
blue
pride
collar,
in taking pride in
taking pride in your work. Like
yeah,
the cattle on his ranch are, yeah, they're cattle, they're used to make money and stuff, but is there's a sense of righteousness about doing this work. But the
yeah,
Paul Newman character doesn't give a crap about any of that. He just wants to make money, drink beer, and just live
yeah,
a kind of a carefree, easy life, if you will. He wants to sell the land so that oil rigs can be brought in to make oil money. But oil money and cattle money is different. You know what I mean? Melvin Douglas pretty much says like, I don't want the oil, sullying my land and stuff like that. Like I would rather die than have them poke holes in my land. Like he
yeah,
values the essence of life, like the more abstract things in life. Paul Newman is very much on hands and very much just kind of wants, like I said, he wants the money. He's more financially driven, which
yeah,
is kind of the more modern way. So you got the old way with Melvin Douglas, you got the modern way of thinking of things with Paul Newman, and then you've got kind of what's the next generation going to do? Because the Brandon DeWild character, he's torn between his love for his grandfather and his admiration and wanting to be his uncle. And you really don't have a lot of answers to that in the movie because it's ambiguous as to which way will the future go, which way will it go, and the movie doesn't really give you that answer because there kind of is no answer. Uh, it's incredibly profound film in my
it
opinion.
is.
I've been recommending it to people for years. Um, it's like I said, it's one of my favorites. Paul Newman is my favorite actor of all time, so I am somewhat biased, if you will. Uh, but
No,
I
you're
think
right.
it's
You're
right
right.
up there.
You're right on this one. This is an
Yeah,
all time great.
I think it's right up there with his best work, like The Hustler, Cool Hand Luke, stuff like that. I think it's right up there with all of those movies. This particular release here looks fantastic. Like I said, it's got a new recent 4K restoration. The 4K restoration looks gorgeous in 4K. I think it's available in Dolby Vision. Yeah, Dolby Vision HDR. Then the Blu-ray is the one with all of the special features, where you've got there's an AFI seminar with director Martin Ritt from, no, what did I say, 1974. That's about 40 minutes long, and it's just all audio. There's a new interview with actor Sally Field, which is excellent because Sally Field worked with both Paul Newman in the movie Absence of Malice, which is the Sidney Pollack film, which is also great, and she also worked with Martin Ritt as well, of course, in Norma Ray. So she talks about working with both of them and their processes of working and how well they work together and several and all of that stuff. It's excellent. I think Sally Field is such a delight. Very insightful. And then there's also an interview with cinematographer Roger Deakins in here as well, which is brand new. I think that goes for like 20 minutes. And it's him talking about the cinematography of James Wong Howe, who is one of the most legendary cinematographers of all time. And Roger Deakins is kind of just talking about um, his favorite work from James Wong Howe, talking about the career of James Wong Howe, and talking about how he shot scenes, how he lit scenes, and how things are lit differently and shot differently today. And he's talking about like all kinds of inside baseball stuff, like certain lenses and certain angles and certain ways that shots are set up between three shots and cameras holding, cameras panning, and all kinds of stuff. If you're a fan of film production, it's really something that you'll definitely dig. So James Wong Howe shot a lot of films, 141 credits on IMDb, but some of the highlights, other than HUD, is The Thin Man. He also shot Seconds, the John Frankenheimer film. He also shot The Rose Tattoo, which is the movie with Burt Lancaster, which I think is really, really great. He also shot This Property is Condemned, which is really good. Yeah, he shot Outrage, which is another great film. So many other great films. Bell, Book, and Candle, The Old Man and the Sea, A Farewell to Arms, Sweet Smell of Success. That's the one that Deakins brought up that I think people will know of the most. It has a Criterion release. That's a movie that probably could use a nice 4K restoration and remaster and a reissue on Criterion. Sweet Smell of Success, the Alexander McKendrick film. That's an all-time. That's like Criterion 101. You've got to get that for your collection. You've got to see it. Incredible screenplay in that movie. Great acting in it as well. But I think that's it in terms of special features. Oh no, there's an episode from 1994 of Inside the Actors Studio, hosted by James Lipton, rest in peace, featuring Paul Newman as well. And he talks about his career and stuff like that. And then inside here, you've got the 2 discs, as well as I think this is a legitimate booklet. They're not screwing around with me again. Yeah, this is one that's actually got some type of binding and is in there as well. Speaking of James Wong Howe, there he is right there. And then on the cover here is Paul Newman, who is like constantly half clothed in the movie most of the time, or else he's wearing other cowboy garb. And then inside here you have the 2 discs, but there is inner artwork as well. The inner artwork is actually one of the most pivotal scenes in the entire movie. Not really spoiling anything if you don't know the context, but it's one of the most pivotal scenes in the movie, dealing with the cattle at this cattle farm. And that in and of itself is very metaphorical of the whole relationship going on in this movie. But yeah, it's definitely a movie that I recommend to everybody all of the time. Watch it any way you can. It is available now on Blu-ray and 4K UHD from Criterion. Honestly, one of my most anticipated releases, not only from them, but really of the year, in my opinion. Great stuff here. So that's it, Stephen.
Fantastic. Well, that is it for another Criterion Collection review. We should hopefully be back again next month with a couple more releases for you. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe here at Chasing Labels and follow us on our audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Of course, if you want to purchase these, you can go to CriterionCollection.com or go to your local Barnes and Nobles, pick it up for half off. Get that discount. Or you could try like Orbit DVD, Diabolic, all the cool places. So that's it for this, and we will see you next time. Good night.